Okay, so we've just arrived on location for today's transit. First thing we do is I have this old tarp that I lay down, and that just kind of keeps little bits and pieces clean if I happen to lay anything down on the ground. My buddy there is setting up a duck blind, and I set up the tripod while he's doing that. The reason we have this little duck blind is because it's so difficult to see your laptop screen when you're out in the bright sunlight. So we set the telescope up close to the duck blind there. There's a little window that zips open, you'll see a little later, and feed the cables through the window and zip everything up, and then we have a nice dark little man cave where we can see our computer screen really well. So he sets up the tent. He's done that several times. I have a folding table and a couple of chairs you see there that we'll throw in there once we get all situated. In the meantime, I'm setting up the telescope. I've got telescope mounted now, and I'm pretty sure we're close enough to North Pole polar line, just leveling things out. I've got the weights, counterweight, and the counterweight battery that's already mounted, and here comes the telescope. This is a Lunt 80 millimeter double stacked, double pressure tuned hydrogen alpha telescope. Hooking up my camera. I have an old ZWO 1600 mm that I use for capture. I'm not exactly sure what my friend's doing there. He's taking video of the scenery and the setup, I guess. So here I am wiring everything up. You can see traffic flying by. You'll hear the traffic later on whenever we get into the capture video. We're only about 25-30 feet off of the Highway 93 here, just north of the small little area called Coyote Springs. So we're getting close to being set up here. My friend is off looking for a piece of paper that we think got blown away by the wind. It's a very important piece of paper. So before I go on these little adventures, I do two things. I print out the transit time, and I print out a photograph of the current solar image in hydrogen alpha from like one of the national observatories. I think this one was from Big Bear. And I do that so that when I'm setting up, I can orientate the camera to where north is up, south is down, and it just makes it a lot easier if you compare it to one of the pictures from one of the big professional observatories. Get the filaments and the prominences in the same location, and you're good to go. So I'm doing a little balance on the telescope there. Declination axis first, and then you'll see me. And I struggled with declination axis because it's been so long since I set this rig up. Now I'm doing the RA axis. That was easy enough. And so now we'll point the telescope at the sun. Piggybacked on top of the telescope is a high-node solar guider. So it's a really nifty little device. It's USB powered, and there's only two ports on it, one for USB power and the other is a ST4 jack that plugs into the ST4 jack on the mount, and it electronically guides on the sun. So it's sort of like a PhD for solar guiding. So we're just getting everything set up now, and I think what's coming up next is you're going to see us out there adjusting the pressure tuners on the mount. Once I get an image up on the mount, I'm going to show my buddy Glenn here which knobs to turn, and I'll watch on the computer screen until it comes in a good, sharp, contrasty focus, and then we'll be set and ready to go. I think this is a record for me. Usually I am just running like crazy until the last minute to get set up, and I have maybe a minute to rest before we start the records. I think today we were set up probably 20-30 minutes with 20-30 minutes to spare. So he's working on the pressure tuners there, and I'm seeing nothing happening on the inside, and I realized that I transported the telescope with the pressure tuners all the way screwed in, which is not a good thing to do. So what you have to do is you have to completely unscrew the pressure tune caps and release the pressure on them, and then reset it basically back to whatever the pressure level is. We're at about 4,700 feet here, so it's not that crazy, but so he gets the first one tuned, and then I'm having him tweak the second one in until we get a good, sharp, crisp image on the screen. And I think we're set to go. Yep. So now it's just a matter of rotating the camera into the correct position. We did find a piece of paper. It had blown out of the vehicle, but it was underneath my right tire there. So we got lucky. We didn't litter, and we found our image. So now the camera is balanced, and we're going to go inside the man cave here. You get to see a little close-up of the telescope before we transition inside. Alright, so looking at the GPS, it's 11:13. We're sitting here all chill, waiting for the SolarTransit at 11:16:31. It's weird, the timing was drifting. Like, I've checked it like 4 times in the last few days.
Right.
And it's drifted from, what does it say? 16:31. Right. It started out at about 16:18. Huh. So it's drifted about 20, almost 15, 20 seconds in 4 days. And it's just, they update the calculations every day, you know, and so it could be off even now. It could be off a second or two. But it's always been drifting later, just by a couple of seconds each time I checked.
Well, and the fact that it flies across the surface in 2/3 of a second.
Yeah.
And that they've at least calculated it so that we're sitting at the right spot.
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing.
All right, we're 2 minutes away.
Tick, tick, tick.
Tick, tick, tick.
And that doesn't have an auto record function, right? So you're going to roll record at about 30 seconds out?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. All I got to do is hit the start button
Right.
And it's going to start a 20,000 frame clip, but I'll stop it right after.
As soon as we see it.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Alarm.
Oh, thank you. Who's calling me? I'll set the snooze alarm. It'll wake me in 5 minutes. Yeah, we missed it.
16:31, and we're at 15:20.
1 minute.
1 minute away.
Roll towards 30-ish.
Hopefully we don't have any big semi-trucks driving, big semi-truck caravan driving by, gusting wind blowing, because it's nice and calm when there's no traffic. You can see it
Does jiggle.
See it jiggle just a little bit when there's a car going by. All right, guys, coming up on 30 seconds to transit. And now, so we are recording, and we are watching for our ISS transit here. Don't blink or you'll miss it. 0.6 of a second. In 10 seconds. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. There it goes. we were a couple seconds off and a little bit off the center line, but we got it.
Here we go. Score.
All right.